Hi everyone, I am Rick Jors. What I will say, I'm well versed in law and legal matters as well before we begin this. And I need to state that because I do know what I'm talking about. I don't have what you would call any a certification or what have you, and I wish to make that clear as well. However, what I do give as lawful advice is lawful and also beyond perhaps some of what you consider legal or lawful counsel. And in this great time, we need to apply the higher laws to actually break down the criminal system and the systematic abuse that is involved in the system unlawfully taking the children from parents. Um, so with this, and what I will say as well, as we know, there is a huge difference when children are taken from parents and kept by child care services. And these children are still alive, and if there is contact, the mother constantly feels, and the father feels the stress, if you will, from the children being held in captivity and away from their immediate care and guardianship. And with this, as time goes on, if a child is taken from the parent, as we know, this is a psychological torture, if you will, because it is constant stress. Now, had unfortunately, if a child dies, if you will, there is closure on that. The parents are able to mend and accept a death of a child, if you will, over short time, usually. But having said, when a child's kept in captivity, the stress is continuous upon the parents and also the child until they are released. So it is because of this as well, we look at the psychological stress and torture, what is involved in this inhumane and actually evil act of the system taking children from people. So it was important, to begin with that. The next thing I wish to say is that, I know in, let's say, the U.S., perhaps, they use the unfit parent or unfit mother scenario very quickly. That is not a substantial claim for them to use because the parents are not at fault. It is the capitalistic system itself that has created poverty and extreme poverty. So it is not to blame on the mom or father, and it has no merit. It contains no merit for any child services to use this because of the living conditions. That is not the fault of the parents. It is the actual stem cause and fault of the capitalistic system worldwide. So just to assist you, if the family courts, if you will, or the child services try to pin this on you, make it very clear your financial situation is not your fault. It is the system that created that environment. So it cannot be used against you, and you can word it and take it further in your own ways. What I also wish to say, generally, with any law, if there is immunity within it or impunity, and of course, what I need to say, if there is bias within the laws, it is actually impartial and it is illegal as well and unlawful. Uh, there has to be a place of accountability for anything to be just. So this is one reason why I say that the courts, the judges, any of those, there needs to be accountability with their decisions. And so with that, so without any accountability, a system is null and void, really. It doesn't serve justice and the law. Now, I'm going through this quickly. Next thing I wish to look at, I got a lengthy list here, but I'll go through it as quick as I can. That done. Perfect. Well, let's begin with a procedure now. So, where we will begin with this, any of you that are moms or dads and had your child taken unlawfully, of course against your consent and against the children's consent, the first thing to begin to do is to gather a statement of facts. And these facts need to be incontestable facts that support that a crime was committed when they took your children, or the procedure that they used to manipulate you to take your children. So what you wish to do is comprise a list of facts. And typically facts are documented information that you have that clearly shows a law broken or a violation. But also, as you begin your procedure in gathering your evidence, it is always a great idea to have, if you can, 2 witnesses. If you have any consultations with any in child care services, to have 2 witnesses. A recording is great as well, because what you wish to do with all of your evidence, and shall any of it be incriminating with your interaction with child care services, you wish to have it incontestable that 2 witnesses, or 1, but preferably 2, can also testify in your favor. Now, also, it's important to it's what we call affidavits, a testimony from individuals as witnesses as well. So in your procedure, it's good to gather affidavits or testimony from witnesses that can support your character, and also that can testify and prove evidence of your claims that are on your statements of facts. So your statements of facts, you wish to keep them as incontestable evidence, incontestable facts that are truths that cannot be denied, and they cannot be contested. They cannot be contested, questioned in court. That when they are absolute facts, if you will, there really does not need to be any court, because there is nothing to decide when these are absolute facts. What occurs is sentencing by the ones that created these crimes against you. So there does not need to be a court. I need to make this very clear, dependent upon the incontestable evidence that each may have. Now, as we know, the system is corrupted, most all of the system, to every degree. So it's important also to keep in mind that everything you do, go public with it, for the simple reasons that the public, the people, are also your support with any injustices, but also to gather the public sentiment so that these crimes, that they stop. And by going and gathering in groups, as we're doing, or one unified group worldwide, by doing this, you're making it a powerful voice of the people to stop these unlawful takings of the children by child services. So when you do this worldwide, multinational, You create a huge one voice, but it's huge, that the system cannot go against. And what I will say, within any country, if we take like Austria, where individuals' rights and laws are being broken, what we're seeing by ones involved in the child care services, when you see this, the onus is on the people as the last resort to establish justice. So if a legal system, if you will, becomes unjust in what it's doing, it becomes the moral obligation of all of the citizens to take action. So when a legal system becomes corrupt and produces enough suppression and unjust actions, it begins to deteriorate. But at the same time, the people need to are obligated to their moral duty to recognize that the system is actually harming, and the people have to come in power. So with any tyrannical legal system in any country, it is the moral obligation of the people to come together to act, because this is unlawful. So it's important to know this as well. So just going back, what you wish to do is, your first step is think and gather all of the incontestable facts that you may have, and you create a statement of facts. What you also can do with your laws that might have been broken, or constitutional rights, or human rights, or all of them, you wish to reference sections, subsections of laws or acts in your country, as well as articles in your constitution that may have been violated, and also the human rights that has been generally accepted worldwide that are violated. And you need to list at least the articles, so that they can reference the numbers of the sections and subsections. So this is a great way. So we are at, so far, you want to compile a statement of facts, and you want those incontestable facts, meaning that where laws were broken, then you want to assign to each one of those the section, the subsection that was contravened by the individual, and the articles that may be in a constitution. So with that, you begin to do this. You compile your statement of facts. Now, as you begin, one of your next things to do is to email the state or the country, or better, to serve perhaps in person, any contract that the state or the child care services may have that shows ownership of the children. So what you want to see, if they can produce any ownership contracts of the children, which they cannot. But you want to make a record of this, where you ask them, and you give them a time frame, let's say 72 hours or so, to reply. Now, it's a good idea with your emails, when you send them, to have an option on your emails to know if they were actually read. It's a better practice and idea to have the letter requesting, if there's any ownership, to have it hand delivered, and have two witnesses with you that can testify that it was given to someone and they received it as well. And that is incontestable evidence, to the degree that they had received your request, asking the institution or the government, all right, do you have any ownership contract reproduce it for my children. And again, they cannot, but it's important to go through this step, because what you are doing is actually showing that they have no custody. So this is a very important step to do first. Ask them to show you where they have custody. And what I'll say with this, the mother is the immediate next of kin. And that's important as well for ones to know where the immediate guardianship and custodianship lays. It lays with the mother and, of course, the father. So also in any of your interactions, if you're in a custody battle, if you will, and I'll go lightly with this, it's important to know that a father, really the most, let's say 99% way to actually prove that a father is through a DNA case, a DNA test. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you have in courts that, let's say, are accepting that a mother says, yeah, he's the father. But that is really an assumption and a hearsay, because sometimes miracles occur, if you will. But also, it's important to know that a court cannot lawfully proceed unless they prove that that father is actually the children's. So if the court just proceeds on hearsay from perhaps the mom and the dad, yeah, I'm the father, that is only hearsay because it's not proven. So what this does is that really a court cannot represent a father and also a mother, but it's much more difficult. So it needs to be the proof of at least DNA. Now here's where we enter another important subject. Everyone has their own right to what is taken from their body, including DNA. So everyone has the right to refuse a DNA test, and it cannot be imposed upon them, but also it cannot be imposed upon the children. And that's very important, unless the child's consent and the mother's and father's, if you will, consent is there for DNA to be taken. So what this does with an actual court, a court cannot proceed on hearsay, if you will. So it's important to know that. Now, the next thing is, as we were mentioning, what you need to do when there's, on your statement of facts, when you have actual laws and rights that were broken, you need to get this to all levels of government, all involved with it. Also, what you need is, I have this wrote down here, just consulting. Also, at this point, when you have illegal, when you have things that were done illegally, when you have it listed there, your next step is to inform the police to begin an investigation. And you have your statement of facts, you give it to them, you say these crimes were broken. It is the moral, it is the obligation of the police to begin an investigation as well into the parties. So they cannot refuse this by law, because you've shown laws have been broken. So the police have to act on your behalf, or at least begin an investigation. And keep records of everything you do, meaning that if the police say no, you've already got it documented where you have alerted the police of illegal acts and they did not act. And what this does as well, it begins to incriminate the police. So what you're actually doing is putting the onus on all of the departments. If they fail to act once they've been given notice that they were acting unlawfully, then it establishes intent, that they intend to act unlawfully. And this itself is criminal, as we know. So then what you begin to do is you begin to tie the hands up of, if you will, of the system that's against you. So also importantly, what you want in your list, in doing your research of incontestable facts, what you also wish to look for is the codes of conduct, the oaths that the police have given when they begin their civil duty, or the code of conduct that the child care worker works on. You want a list of their code of conduct, and you want to see what was violated in your case as well, because you are going to begin to show how they actually broke their oath. And when they break their oath, they're unable to remain into the job depending on how serious it is. So it's important to do that. And I'm keeping this as simple and short as possible. So also, as you're doing all of this, it's a great idea, even from the beginning, to publicly announce and advertise what you're doing with your procedures. And what this does, it creates a greater safety for you as well. And, you know, with these hideous crimes that are committed, let's say by child services at taking the children, there are connections to child trafficking, also to ones to cover up these unlawful acts at taking the children. So what you wish to do is immediately upon embarking upon your procedure, put it all in public. This way, what it does is they would think twice before attacking you. So the way that the dark system works is they like to single moms and parents out, because then they're easier to control, suppress, and manipulate. But by you going public, as we are doing, you begin to create a bigger group, bringing in journalists, reporters, forensic auditors, what have you. And also, it's better to have the natural justice lawyers because they are kind of, if you can find them, they are actually above the system and able to tie the hands of the legal system much quicker. But by making a group, by being public and making a group, what you begin to do is put the public sentiment against the system as well, and it forces them to begin to act. So just to recap a bit of what I said in the beginning, what you do is when you send the letters to all of them that they are acting illegally, at that time you give them the opportunity to do the right thing. So again, if they do not apply remedy, which you gave them a remedy, which is the opportunity to correct everything immediately, and again, if they do not, in part of your lawful procedure, at least you gave them that impartial opportunity to do the right thing. And again, if they don't, then what it does, it establishes and proves intent to harm, intent to fraud, or what have you. So again, it's important with your court, if you had any previous court sittings, to get copies of your court transcripts. Now, in some areas, there is a transcript that is taken at the time of court, which is an original transcript. Then sometimes after court, the judge will take it in and edit it. What you want is both scripts. You ask for both transcripts or recordings. For the reason why, if you have a dirty judge, if you will, you want to prove that this judge is illegal by comparing the two transcripts as well. And also there's other information that's included in this transcript that once you review it later, you may find some more questionable or illegal things that have occurred. And also what you wish to look for is any perjury, which is lying, if you will, in a court of law that is usually begun under an oath. So it's important to know that. So as you proceed forward with your initial requests, what you say is the children must be returned to I immediately because you are acting illegally. So you always include that in there. And for every time that they do not return the children, this becomes very important because you have documented again the detail of how they broke the laws, and it shows that there's something much more deeper going on. So you begin to expose that. But also, again, in each time where you say you must return the children immediately, that is also part of the remedy of the situation. And again, if they don't respond to that, again, it incriminates them further. Now, if you get to this point where you've done all of this and they still have not given the children back, your next step to do is to ask for the insurance details from all of those, their professional insurance, but also their personal insurance. So you begin to ask for their insurance details. And they have to provide them to you. So if you ask for them, you document this. And if they do not give them to you, this is a valuable document to have later where you requested their insurance company name and their policy number. Because in a lawful procedure, when one begins to do that, this is in preparation of laying a claim against another. And for example, when you get in a car accident, if you will, one of the first things you have to show your insurance that you have coverage. So I need to make it clear that no government nor any civil servant can operate without a liability insurance. And they need the insurance, because if they don't, there is no accountability for any great harm that is done. So if they don't provide you with this insurance information, your next act is to to find out their insurance company and to inform their insurance company that they did not inform their insurance company and that they are acting illegally. Then what this does with the insurance company, it becomes a responsibility of the insurance company to also begin to investigate, but also, if it's severe enough, when you give the their insurance company the state of facts that's incontestable, that shows what they have done illegally, their insurance, that child care workers' insurance, may be canceled immediately. And they cannot work when they do not have insurance. So it's very important to know this. And as we go along with some future lives, if you will, we can give some more details in this. However, so at this point, this is to give you another important approach and tip to take, because you need to realize that you are the power. The onus and the power is actually with the people. And in actuality, any government or child care services, they are actually your employees, if you will. You are the one that voted in the governments to represent you and all of the departments. So what this means is actually you have the power, not the governments or these departments. It's part of the illusion and trick to take that away. Yes, when you have a government or department that's acting lawfully, that's great. They are doing their job. But when they begin to act illegally, it becomes your responsibility to take action because they're actually your employees, to keep it simple. Um, so again, you need the insurance numbers as well to begin another part of your process if the children are still not returned. But even if the children are returned as a result of going through this process, a very important crime has been committed. And there has to be accountability. So you may have the children back in your possession, but the crime has been committed, and there has to be justice, meaning all that were involved into it have to, some form of justice has to be served, whether they all lose their jobs or if it's jail sentences, whatever it may be. It's also important, let's say if you go to a child care center where your children have been abducted and being held, it's also important to inform all of the staff there that they are participating in a crime. You need to inform them because you also can say there is unlawful children here that you are participating in holding. So you put the personal obligation upon each one of the staff, if you will, at knowing, now that they know the children have been taken unlawfully, and if the staff workers continue to work there at the place, what they're actually doing is they become an accomplice to the crime, and they're able to be sued, and they become incriminated as well because they had the option to do the lawful thing, but where they chose to stay working for that criminal employer that's holding the children unlawfully, they all become accomplices to a crime once they are informed. And it's with any level of any department, the same as the child care services department themselves. Once they're informed that they're participating in the crime, it becomes their choice whether to leave the job or to continue. But again, when they continue, then they are intentionally acting unlawfully, which incriminates them with justice coming served later. Again, for any legal system to be just, there has to be accountability. And if that is not provided, then it nullifies and voids and renders that total legal system as non-effective, non-enforceable, and not lawful. So it creates a huge problem for that entire system. So again, you provide the opportunity of remedy. If they don't give the children back to you, then they are proceeding with intent, which by doing proceeding with intent to do harm and to continue with the crime, it also proves fraud and all of this. So you have pretty well a good case that is, well, actually you have the best case when you take these procedures and do it. So it forces the system to actually release the children. So again, just keeping this as simple and as straightforward as now as I can. This is a most important procedure to begin in the order as I said it in this. Take your time when you listen to it and begin to do this procedure. And what I share with the group Sister Nya and I have just opened, it's to bring all moms and dads in there that had their children taken by the system to begin to support this. And our intentions are to bring worldwide journalists in, because not only did this happening in the U.S., Austria, it happens all around the world. And it's now time to end this completely. And the onus is on the people to do it. So when you have a tyrannical government, what happens is it is the moral obligation of the people to stop these things. And none of these things, as I'm saying right now, would be possible if we were not in the great times, what is occurring, the great emancipation of unlimited freedom and wealth for the people, which is coming. And this is with GPMS.world, which is the new replacement monetary and law system for the world. And GPMS is so important once we have it fully ratified, for the simple reason what it does, it takes out of play the incentive, the monetary incentive that it's involved in these child care services and child trafficking, where the capitalistic system has made it a very lucrative, profitable business. They incentivize it, and it's even systematically incentivized to the degree in Austria when a child is taken into child care services. That child care services for every day gets somewhere between $117 to several $100 a day for that one child. Now, these are things that are on record, but also about corruption, that is there also under the table money that can occur as well. But with GPMS.world, with the new laws and the new system, there is no incentive for personal gain, because everyone has enough. And where everyone has enough, there is no reason to take children or engage in taking children for profit as well. So the incentivization of this huge business worldwide with the abuse of children is gone. Now, you would say you have evil ones, but they are also cannot exist in a joyous world without giving more of the metaphysical and physics reasons why that doesn't occur. But to keep it simple for you, we take away the incentivization, the monetary incentivization as well. So it's important for all of you, if you're watching this for the first time, you do not know about Divine GPMS.world yet. Our website's currently down for a few days intentionally. But when we have it back up, it's important that every man, woman, and child goes there and adds your vote, your consent, your accord to add it to the ratification process, which is currently happening worldwide. At this time, I believe we have perhaps 330,000 children, women, and men that have consented. So we're ratifying the full agreement. Once we get to the majority, which is typically around 4.1 billion worldwide, you have your full replacement system of your own money. You can look on there, your own money, your own freedom, and it's a whole new system that poverty is eradicated instantly, because every child, woman, and man has their own money, and it's the entirely different civilized system that takes humanity out of the savage system. So it's being done lawfully. We're lawfully ratifying the new world. So it's important for all to know what this is and how it actually frees all of your children forever and frees yourself. So we're getting very close to that. And this is part of breaking down the system, but also revealing the system for whatever justice. We don't deal with the justice because that happens organically. What we deal with is freeing the children, freeing all of humanity, all of the good souls with this, and placing everyone in an immediate place of comfort upon the full ratification, implementation of the new system. So we're here now. The new system is not here yet. It could be done in a month under very reasonable circumstances, but we've been working on it 4 years, gathering consents, and but at any moment it can go viral, and that is divinely timed as well, because this replacement system is what's been promised in prophecy, scripture, what have you. So once the world recognizes that this is it, it's what was promised and prophesied, then boom, it's all done. Everyone is free and abundant. Without going further into that. So this is number one, with just giving you some lawful tips. There are other lawful tips to give you to temporarily survive in the system lawfully as well. But I'll talk about those tips in perhaps the next live about this topic. And also, yeah, it's best to do it that way. And so what I'll do is, before we go, we'll say a prayer, and we will say, Our Mother and Father, Prime Creator, please empower all of the moms and dads and the children that have been suffering at the clutches of this evil worldwide. May they all be empowered. May the families be united in happiness and joy. And so it is. So with that, peace, big love, kisses. We got this. The children all will be home soon. We've got things going in action worldwide, and with international interest, and also what I will say, multinational, perhaps class action lawsuits as well against the establishments is quite possible as you begin to destruct this down. And there's more information I'm not giving you, meaning that I've only given you the beginnings of the proceedings. And but what I can give you, and what I will be later on, is showing you how effective it is. So I'm just introducing and leading you up, all of you that wishes to begin to do this procedure, join together, unite. The more that are doing this, the more powerful it is, and the quicker that things happen. And you'll be very excited when I give you the rest of the story, what this actually does and why it works. But we got to take this one step at a time. So, peace, big love to you and all the children. Love, light, and gratitude, and have an amazing day wherever you may be on earth.